If I were to ask you, what is the single most significant invention that has occurred in your lifetime, what would you answer with? Cell phones, electric cars, virtual reality. All these answers, while vastly different, share a common trait amongst themselves. They all need to be powered. Now, as an environmental science major, energy production and efficiency has been a topic I've spent quite a bit of research on. An extremely large portion of our daily lives revolves around the reliance on electricity to power things like our accommodations, communication, transportation, education, and more. So we know how reliant we are on electricity, but do you even know where it comes from? According to the US Energy Information Administration, which is a policy-independent statistical agency for the Department of Energy, 60% of power comes through the burning of fossil fuels like petroleum, coal, and natural gases. The burning of these fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, which contributes significantly to global warming. This means that we will have to replace fossil fuels, but with what? A possible replacement lies with nuclear energy. And what is nuclear energy exactly? Well, nuclear energy is the splitting of uranium atoms called nuclear fission, which generates heat and in turn power. Development for nuclear energy first started as nuclear warfare research during World War II, but had its focus shifted post-war. Since then, it's had a rocky history with lots of ups and downs. So this is a divisive topic, and we are going to take a look and analyze what about nuclear energy causes people to strongly advocate for it, and also look at the downsides that help create its opposition. Now, many of the arguments for nuclear energy tend to revolve around the advantages it has over its counterparts, the biggest one of these being zero carbon emissions. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, which is an executive agency of the US government, energy production generates the second largest share of greenhouse gas emissions at around 27%. Now, this would create a strong argument for nuclear energy as we are looking to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Another argument for nuclear energy would be its efficiency. According to the Department of Energy, which is the United States official department for energy concerns, quote, nuclear energy has by far the highest capacity factor of any other energy source. This basically means nuclear power plants are producing maximum power more than 93% of the time during the year. That's about 1.5 to 2 times more than natural gas and coal, and 2.5 to 3.5 times more reliable than wind and solar. Now, while there are positives for the implementation of nuclear energy, no option is without its drawbacks. So now we're going to take a look at the negative aspects about nuclear energy. The main arguments against nuclear energy tend to revolve around the safety concerns about it. Now, if I were to say nuclear power plant, a lot of people's first thoughts would go something like Chernobyl or Fukushima. These catastrophes and disasters have created a fear in the general public, which has created a large opposition against nuclear energy. Another argument against nuclear energy would be nuclear waste. Now, nuclear power plants do not produce any carbon emissions, but they do still produce waste. According to the Department of Energy, around 2,000 metric tons of used fuel is created each year. And according to the World Nuclear Association, which is a nonprofit international organization comprised of nuclear companies, this nuclear waste takes thousands of years to decay and is extremely dangerous, so it has to be stored safely. Currently, they are typically stored in protective containers in a remote location, such as underground. But there's still a risk present. If a natural disaster like an earthquake were to occur, it could create a possible leakage, which would create catastrophic damage. So we can see that most issues that people take against nuclear energy tend to revolve around the safety of it, as many fear that both nuclear power plants and the waste they produce can be dangerous. So, in conclusion, we can see that there are valid arguments both for and against nuclear energy. However, the reasons for the support and opposition differ. Arguments for nuclear energy tend to focus on its advantages over its counterparts, like no carbon emissions compared to fossil fuels, or its efficiency compared to fossil fuels and renewables. Whereas arguments against nuclear energy seem to focus on the potential safety hazards that come with it, whether that be the disposal of the nuclear waste or the power plants themselves. But as the nuclear energy industry continues to develop, we may end up seeing significant changes in this debate over time.